Listen to the JT Sports Podcast on all podcasting platforms and leave a 5-star review.
LSU beat Ole Miss at home, 45-20. And with this win, LSU is now tied for first place in the SEC West. Now, they have a bye week coming up. And after their bye, they got to play their arch rivals, the Alabama Crimson Tide. And if you're an LSU fan right now, you definitely have to feel pretty good about your chances in that game, considering how well your team has played over the last couple of weeks, especially in this win over Ole Miss, which I was pretty confident in picking LSU to win this game. As a matter of fact, I was telling my friends for the whole entire week leading up to this matchup that I was taking LSU money line because I felt like Ole Miss was a little bit overrated. You see, people looked at Ole Miss and thought they were a better team than what they actually were because of the fact that they were still undefeated and they were ranked inside the top 10 of the AP top 25. Meanwhile, let's be honest, a lot of you guys watching this probably started to count out LSU after they got blown out at home by Tennessee. And heck, some of you guys might have even counted out LSU after they lost their season opener to Florida State. But you see, this team has gotten gradually better over the course of this season. You got to remember, this is only Brian Kelly's first year at LSU. He got a bunch of guys from the transfer portal and basically say, you know what, we're not trying to rebuild. We're trying to compete right away. So when you bring in so many pieces, it takes a while to get everything working in order. But the offensive line has improved. Jaden Daniels is absolutely balling. He is the most underrated quarterback in college football. And I don't think that's an opinion. I think it's a legitimate fact. When you look at what he did against Ole Miss, he completed 21 out of 28 of his passes for 248 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. But he also ran the ball 21 times for 121 rushing yards and had 3 touchdowns. And this wasn't his first time doing this. He's been balling for the whole entire season. Every single game, Jaden Daniels pretty much has showed up for LSU. Now, sometimes he may show up a little late. You get what I'm saying? But he's been balling. And if you're talking about the Heisman Trophy conversation, he has to be in it. Because, you know, don't they say the Heisman Trophy is supposed to be awarded to the most outstanding player in college football, the player who most contributes to his team's success? I mean, who else is contributing more to their team's success than Jaden Daniels? The dude leads his team in rushing yards. He's literally carrying LSU on his back. Literally. Not trying to use that as a metaphor, but literally. He's carrying this LSU team on his back. And when you're talking about the best quarterbacks in this conference, behind Bryce Young and Hendon Hooker, who's at number 3? Who? Jaden Daniels or KJ Jefferson? Based on this season, I probably would go with Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels has been really good with not turning the football over. He's really smart when it comes to picking when to run. Too many people have criticized him and said that he runs too much. He needs to be more patient in the pocket. Bro, have you seen that LSU offensive line all this year? They are now starting to block at a really productive level. A better level than how they were at the start of the season. Because you saw that FSU game, oh my goodness. It seemed like every single time Jaden Daniels dropped back, he had to run. Because it was somebody in his face. Now, for Ole Miss, they got outscored 42 points to 3 after their 17-3 lead early in the second quarter. And the main reason why I picked LSU to win this game was because I didn't trust Ole Miss passing attack in this game. You see, I was thinking that if this game ended up being a close matchup and it was going to be decided by one possession, Ole Miss is a team that loves to run the football. They have one of the best rushing attacks in all of college football. However, if they are put in a situation where they need to throw the football to win games, they are put in a situation to fail because they can't do it. Jackson Dart has pretty much turned the football over in almost every single game this season. And he's been inaccurate. He's missed open wide receivers. And on top of that, the Ole Miss wide receiving core has also dealt with some drops as well. So the passing game isn't efficient. So you got Jaden Daniels, who takes care of the football. And in a one-possession game, turnovers matter. So I didn't trust Jackson Dart in this matchup, simply for the fact that he's too turnover prone and he's going against a quarterback that's more efficient and takes better care of the football. Also, Ole Miss defensively, their defensive line is okay, but against LSU, I felt like LSU's offensive line really kind of got the better of the defensive line of Ole Miss, especially late into the game. And the reason for that was because their offense really couldn't get anything going, and their defense ended up being on the field for a lot of plays. And LSU warmed down. And Brian Kelly pretty much alluded to that in his post-game interview. LSU was a more physical team. They imposed their will against Ole Miss. And Ole Miss isn't some slouch. Like, I know I knocked them for, not having the strongest strength of schedule and whatnot. But trust me, when you see this team run the football, the stats replicate just how well they do it. I mean, their running back group is sensational. The true freshman running back, Junkins, that dude is a tank. Zach Evans, we know what he can do when he's healthy. However, it's just that there was a point in this game where Ole Miss couldn't really run the football no more. They had to throw the football to get back into the game. And that's when LSU made their due. That's when LSU took control of the game. Once LSU went on that run and they got up by multiple possessions going into the fourth quarter, LSU pretty much won the ball game at that point because they put Ole Miss in a situation where they had to get away from what they do best. And what Ole Miss does best is run the football. So if Ole Miss has to win a game by throwing the ball, I don't think they're going to be able to do it more times than not. However, when they have the run game going, the passing game is a good complement at times. It's funny because Ole Miss can throw the ball when they want to. However, when they need to throw the football, they can't do it at an efficient level. And a good example of this is the first half or the first quarter of this game. Did you guys see how well Jackson Dart looked or how well he played in the first quarter? The dude was absolutely on fire. I thought he was going to have a big afternoon, but he came crashing right back down to earth the quarter after. You see, Ole Miss had success throwing the football when they wanted to, but they couldn't when they needed to. When they really needed some big plays in the passing game in the fourth quarter to stay alive in this game, they weren't able to get them. And Jackson Dart is a really good athlete with his legs, and he has been really big also on the ground for Ole Miss. And yet, he barely had any contribution in the rushing department for the Rebels and their loss against LSU. Now, for Ole Miss, their next couple of games are against Texas A&M, Alabama, Arkansas, and Mississippi State. Now, all of these games are winnable, but they all are losable at the same time. I mean, you look at Texas A&M, they're just a dumpster fire. They should win that one. You got Alabama. We already know it's tough to beat Alabama. You got Arkansas, Mississippi State. So for Ole Miss, I'm really interested in seeing how the remainder of their season plays out, because they benefited off not really facing as stiffer competition as guys such as Alabama and LSU have played. Ole Miss only had to play Kentucky, and they were able to dodge everybody else until LSU. And that's why I was saying, like, LSU was a little bit more battle tested than Ole Miss. Yeah, they may have had a close game against Auburn, but that was a big win for them at that point of the season. They needed that. And then you got the win over Florida. That was huge. I mean, LSU is getting hot at the right moment. The really right moment. And don't be surprised if you see them push Alabama into a really, really close game. Because, heck, last year, everybody thought that LSU was going to get blown out. We already knew that Ed Orgeron was on his way out. And despite that, LSU gave Alabama a close game. So I'm really excited to see what's next for both of these two teams. Is Ole Miss going to bounce back, or are they going to come back down to earth, lose some more games, and then finish the season with 8 wins? Or could they potentially be a 10-win football team? And for LSU, are they going to be able to challenge Alabama? And we're going to be talking about LSU a little bit more on the podcast over the next couple of weeks leading up to their bout with Alabama after their bye week. But LSU gets the win over Ole Miss, 45-20. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section down below if you're listening to this on YouTube.